Hi, I'm Ed Kelsey, local theater historian, here talking for the LA Historic Theater Foundation about the beautiful Wilshire Theater, now the Saban Theater. Um, we're here looking actually at some restoration work that's been done on the theater. The work that you see around me in gold, silver, and dark purple was all done in the summer of 2008. The theater is owned by a temple and a foundation, and they've decided that they would like to bring it back as close as they can to original, bring back some of the beauty of the theater. When we started in 2008 looking at the theater, all of this area that you see now that looks so beautiful was all painted dark burgundy, everything. It pretty much killed all the detail, which was what they wanted at the time, and take people's attention towards the stage and away from the decoration. The point now is to bring it back, and what we did was basically scaffold this entire area around the proscenium, clean it, prime it, and then we actually used it's aluminum paint, and it's the same kind of paint that they actually use to paint people's names on doors, on office doors. What we did was put the background dark purple on, put the aluminum paint on, and then go back and do some leafing, gold leaf, aluminum leaf. You can see some of the parts that are more shiny is actually metal leaf that's on there on top of the paint. And a lot of this, as you'll see here and in other theaters, there's always a fine line between bringing it back exactly the way it was originally, which many times is not known, and doing what the owners want to do. And so there was a lot of back and forth when we did this. There was a lot of trips up and down the scaffolding with the owners of the theater, talking about how the colors looked, a little too much gold, a little too much silver, going back and forth. And I think we've reached a really nice medium. And I think it is actually pretty close to what was there originally. The descriptions talk about black, silver, and coral. As far as we could find, most of the coral was actually probably in the seats, the seat standards, and maybe the carpeting. And most of the decoration on the walls was more in the palette of green, black, and silver, with a little bit of coral accent. So this area, I think, is actually pretty authentic to what it was originally. At the same time as that renovation, they decided to redo the seats and the carpet to kind of match the new look. So when you look in here, you'll see a contrast because the walls still have the red fabric. There's still red draperies. But they decided that they were going to start with this new palette of gold, silver, tan, and the blue and green. And so they picked blue seats. I pushed them, I think, actually towards the blue seats. As I said, every theater on the face of the earth has red seats. You don't want to be another theater with red seats. Let's go with something different. And they made the wise decision to pick this beautiful deep blue color, almost verging on purple depending on how it's lit. A really pretty color. And then what we did was hire Durkin pattern carpets. And Durkin is a division of Mohawk, and Mohawk actually has patterns that they did in theaters in the 1920s and 30s. And we went through their pattern book and chose one of the original patterns from the 1930s, not from this theater, but from another Art Deco theater. The unusual thing about this theater, when you go back and look at the original photos, is every bit of surface, every wall, every ceiling was completely decorated with either paint or leafing, and the only thing that didn't have any decoration was the carpet. It was actually plain carpet. And so because a lot of that decoration is missing right now, we decided we could fill some of that Art Deco feeling back in with the carpet. So the restoration work I just described on the proscenium in 2008 was only the first of several phases. There are plans and actually some drawings and designs for 2 more phases. One phase would be to complete the rest of the auditorium, ceiling and walls, and the other phase would be to do the lobby areas. For a variety of reasons, this was all painted out in pastel colors. A lot of that happened in the early 1980s when it was renovated as a Broadway type house. So the style back then was to take these movie palaces and paint everything beige. In this case, it didn't go beige, but it went kind of a lavender color. And it did cover up a lot of beautiful Art Deco decoration. So you'll see as you tour the theater, the rest of the auditorium is still waiting to be done. And again, the lobbies are still waiting to be done. There are plans, there are fortunately a lot of photos, so it will be fairly easy to recreate. Hopefully we're going to go up in the balcony and look at a little part of the balcony where the wall paint has been scraped back to reveal some of the original decoration. Okay, we're up here at the very top of the balcony, and we're looking at some work that Evergreen Architectural Arts did in the summer of 2008. It's called a paint study, and it actually reveals some of the original paint underneath. What they do is use very gentle strippers and carefully strip away the upper layers of paint to try to reveal what was there originally. As you can see, when you look here, what it was some huge stencil designs, flowers, plant motifs, typical Art Deco. And it's pretty much, again, it adheres to the black, silver, and maybe a little bit of green, but these huge flowing designs would have covered this entire ceiling up here. And then along the walls there was actually, in the same colors, alternating bands of color, almost like drapery pattern. And the idea of the renovation would be to recreate this as closely as possible. Again, adjusting for modern tastes and maybe a little bit of color adjustment, which is quite common in theater renovations, but still bringing back the original spirit. We're now standing in the lobby area, but where I'm standing was actually originally part of the seating area. This would have been the doorways going into the auditorium. In the 1980 renovation, they know that they needed more lobby space, obviously needed a bar, so what they did was actually flatten this area, extend the lobby into the back of the main floor seating area, and create a new wall and a new slope for the auditorium floor. So they actually poured a whole new floor. I'm standing on a new concrete floor, and the seating in the main floor is actually a new concrete floor. So what you'll see is over here, the original pillars and exit doors that would have been at the back of the auditorium, and it's now made into a nice lobby space. Works pretty well. They still have a good seating capacity, mainly because they have a very deep balcony. But it's one of the keys to actually making a Broadway type house work in this day and age is you have to have the lobby space. And so they did manage to do that by this renovation. We're now in the lobby looking towards the dome and the main chandelier. Again, pretty much original. Obviously it's all pastel and burgundy colors now. It would again all been covered with gold, silver, black, and beautiful stenciling in all the ceilings. The chandelier you see is the original chandelier. It got what we call the Scouris treatment in the late 1940s, which means that the original simple Art Deco fixture was covered with all of the fancy sheet metal that you see going up and down it. And that was something that happened to most Fox West Coast theaters in the late 1940s. They did also change the dome there. You see the dome looks much simpler. It doesn't have that rough, sharp Art Deco feel. It's more rounded. And that dome was actually created in the 1940s to match the chandelier. The original dome is up above there, and that would have been, again, covered with stenciling. Okay, we're standing in the main lobby now, looking back towards the entrance doors. This is actually a bit of renovation that they did in 2009, the summer of 2009. They got a donation from a major donor, Saban, and he actually donated enough money to encourage them to rename the theater in his honor. You'll see when we go outside a new marquee in Art Deco style that says Saban Theater, the new name of the theater, and they also recreated the original entrance doors. Before this happened, there was kind of plain glass doors, 1980s style glass doors, and a drop ceiling. They removed the glass doors, removed the drop ceiling, revealed the original ceiling out there, and put in a recreation of that stepped kind of starburst pattern over the doors. So it gives it much more of the original Art Deco feel. And when we go outside, you'll get a nice look at the restored outdoor ticket foyer and the new marquee.